hello again. Well, today we're going to look at advanced magic. Okay, so I hope you've had a great week so far. It is the weekend. It is actually Sunday the 7th here in Japan. Very hot day once again. I'm actually enjoying the weather because there's a very nice breeze today. Anyway, everything's very positive where I live in terms of the weather, if not anything else. But at my end, actually everything is fine, health and everything else. So I hope you guys are doing well. I know in some areas of the world, especially you guys in the United States, you're having a bit of social turmoil and upheaval as well. Some are protests and some, unfortunately, are riots, which is sad to see. But anyway, today's topic is advanced magic. Okay, so I have a few questions as well as some solutions for you. Now, a lot of people have actually wanted to know my take anyway about how to go about advancing themselves because they've done all the beginner stuff and they believe they're ready. But here's the question. How do you know you're ready? How do you know you're at an advanced level? Now, I'm not challenging you because this is just a question I want you to ask yourself. Only you know the true answer if you're honest. In order to find out, you have to write down a little bit more about yourself from the beginning. Think back to when you first started to now. What can you do? How much progress have you made in each area? Are you very good at channeling energies? Are you very good at building up internal energy? Do you actually know how to? Are you satisfied with your rituals? Are there any areas where you lack knowledge and you feel weak? These are all things you have to be honest with, because a lot of times when I evaluate people, and I'm saying that because at 51 years of age, I've gone through a lot of training, so I'm at a point where I can evaluate people. And often I see people that have done the same thing over and over again, but they've gone down in terms of the amount of energy they put in things or detail. When they're doing rituals, I can feel, I can sense, and sometimes I see their mind wandering. They're not with it. They're not in it. So they've actually broken their focus. Their energetic output is actually weaker than when they started. So for those types, they're not ready for advanced magic. You need a very strong core base with everything. I'll give you an analogy. I know you get a lot of analogies from me, and you're going to get another one today, or several. You know about the Shaolin monks, right? The warrior monks in China. Well, of course, there's a lot of myth and a lot of movies have been created about them and exaggerated things, but there's also a lot of truth in it in terms of training. When someone was ready in terms of the eyes of the abbot to be accepted, it was not easy. They made the internal, or should I say the entrance into the monastery, extremely difficult. So all these candidates, potential students, apprentices, whatever you want to call them, were begging to learn the secrets that could only be found spiritually as well as physically in the Shaolin monastery, and quite often they were turned away. No, no, no. And the ones that gave up kind of ruled themselves out, the process of self-elimination. And the ones that were tenacious and would turn up again every 6 months or every year eventually were allowed in. So that was one test, a test to see if their heart was truly in it. Because if your heart is set in something, you don't give up, right? Then what happened? When they were accepted, of course, their hair was shaved off. and they had to give up a lot of their favorite foods and have a very bland diet, you might say. And they had to learn to kind of survive on very little sleep. And during the trainings, the initial training stages, they weren't really taught much. They had to do most of the chores, the cleaning, the heavy lifting, the physical stuff, and they would be begging to learn. And often the teachers said, no, you're not ready, you're not ready, and they gouged at how frustrated and angry these young Shaolin apprentices were, and a lot of them gave up. So that was another stage to self-elimination. So what was happening is that they were testing the power for focus, but they needed stamina to focus, not short-term focus. And this is the problem that we're facing with a lot of people. You have to be in it for the long haul. So these people that had stamina were the people that really kept up their desire and really knew that internally, truthfully, this was the path for them. And then, of course, over the course of the first 3 years, this went on. So it kept filtering out the weak until the very few were selected, and then they were taught at that point. So what is the lesson here? The lesson is that a lot of times people rush from what they're doing and they think, I'm ready for, I'm too good for this. This is basic stuff. But they haven't really mastered it. Everything you do, you can do better. Absolutely everything. Okay? So are you at a level of near perfection in what you're doing? Now, I know a lot of people find chaos magic and other forms of so-called fast magic, I call it McDonald's magic, very appealing because you don't need to do anything. It's very minimalistic, but you have to understand one thing. Look at the creators of these systems. The creators of these systems were actually studying a lot of the occult arts for a long time, whether they've been honest with you or not, but they have. They built up a lot of energy, so they were at a point where they could minimalize things. So we're looking at it from the advanced perspective where you do all this training, you've built up your powers of focus, your energy, and at that point you strip the system down and you really simplify anything because you can perform magic. Okay, so anyway, that is the first step to know that you're ready or not for advanced magic, and most are not. You really have to have taken your base abilities to the extreme level of near perfection. Of course, there's no such thing as perfection, but you have to have shown a consistent improvement over the years. Okay? Nothing great comes without effort, whether you want to believe that or not. Now, everybody's at a different level, of course, of spiritual involvement, but there are still certain truths, no matter where you are, that when you're beginning a new path, a new system, you have to do all the trainings, you have to put the effort in it in the beginning. Okay? Once you have that, let's say all the tools are in place, that then it's easier. You have all the tools now, whereas before you were building these tools, you couldn't construct anything major. But now after all these years, you've built all these tools that everything comes much faster. It's the same for wealth, making money. You've probably heard this a lot. Making your first million takes 20 years of effort. Okay? But your second million only takes 5 years. And your third million only takes 2 years. Okay, there's a quickening that happens. But if you didn't put the time to have built up the knowledge and the skills and the know-how and built up the connections and in business, whatever, some people do it faster, but it still takes a lot of time. So if you've done all that, then you know you are ready because you have all your tools in place, right? So now you can build greater things. And this is where you can start exploring how to become more efficient with everything you do. You can start stripping down things. You can start adding things. You can start exploring different systems and incorporating lessons and even other systems that you know you can evaluate if they would be cohesive, if they go together, as opposed to being completely opposite systems which just would muck things up. You'd also increase your learning and add more associations. So if you know the Hebrew language, if you know all the planetary attributions, you know all the sigil systems, you know how to intone, you know how to use frequencies. Your invocations have been very successful. You feel a lot of power when you perform rituals. The advanced stage is all about exploration and researching for yourself, stripping things down, adding things that are your own to the magic you do. So you can go back and do a basic ritual like the Lesser Ritual of the Pentagram, which was really perfected by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in the early 19th century, and then other pagan systems and witchcraft systems have borrowed from, and many times have got it wrong. So do you know how to do it the most effective way? Because the most effective way, actually, if you want to argue with me, but I'll tell you, is the way it's done in the Golden Dawn system. So once you've done that, what works for you? Where do you feel power? What can you add? What can you change? So, for example, when you're doing the Lesser Ritual of the Pentagram, there are two. There's the banishing one, and then there's the invoking. The invoking you usually do in the morning because you want to bring in the positive energies. And once you've brought in these positive energies, it also has a protective banishing effect because they're occupying the space. So negative and positive can't stay in the same space, actually. It's not possible. When you're doing the banishing, you're clearing, you're pushing everything out. So you're not getting infested with parasites, so to speak, you know, that are going to cause problems for you before you go to sleep. So you do that in the evening. So how can you make that more efficient? In the system of the Golden Dawn system, I should say, the use of the archangels to represent the different energy levels of the east, west, north, south are there, representing fire, water, air, spirit, earth, etc. You can actually change the visualizations instead of the archangels or the archangels, if you want to call them that, into something different that represents that element, that feeling. Okay, so this is how you start to experiment. But not just anything will do. It really has to have a symbolic meaning to that direction and that element. Okay, then it's going to work more effectively. Okay, so this is how you actually start working with advanced magic. From there, you perform your own experiments. You experiment with all the knowledge that you have to get certain results. But if you haven't put in the work, if you haven't done the research, if you don't know all the elements that would work in a ritual and things that are counter, or even the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic system, the Golden Dawn method, not the Jewish method, which is more spiritual, religious, and it'll take you centuries, and nobody lives that long to understand. Do the Golden Dawn system, you'll get enough of a base to know exactly how to perform and create more powerful rituals, and then incorporate other things that you've come across in your own studies and path along the years. So this is how you know you're ready. You're ready because you've done all the homework. I guess the key word to advanced magic is practice. You have to do the work at ever-increasing levels, meaning you got to do more of it, okay? And you can start specializing or delving into, I should say, areas like Enochian magic. That's one example. Or invocation, Goetia, although you should be careful with that because you really have to know what you want and then be selective. I know there's a fad of just working through all the 72 or whatever demons, and that's cool, but you don't want that. You end up with a mess. It's just like you wouldn't want to have or be friends with everybody. It's impossible. So in the end, if you try to be friends to everybody, you can't be of good service and they are not going to have that connection to you. It's best to select a few. By researching first, select a few that are going to be more in tune, at least what you think, in tune with you, and that you can form a more permanent bond being selective. But you can experiment, just of course take precautions always, because bad things are not always obvious, okay? The worst of people are not necessarily looking dangerous or ugly or evil. Sometimes they're dressed very beautifully and they're very charismatic and they seem wonderful. And then once they've gained your confidence, they slash your throat. Anyway, getting back to advanced magic. So then you study different systems. You might want to get into completely different systems like hoodoo or something. Indian magic, Maori magic like the Tahunga. You might want to get into more of the roots of Western magic, which is the Greco-Roman magical systems. You may want to get into more of the Golden Dawn system. You may want to delve into more of the Psalm magic found in the Bibles and Enoch. But the thing is, this is where you're going to increase the work you do, and you're going to start recording things. You're going to start really studying things deeper. You're going to really dive into it and up your game, so to speak, with knowledge in the way you perform and ability, and then personalize it. You start personalizing things. So the advanced point, you just keep learning and then personalizing it. Okay, it's not necessarily reductionism, although you can perform reductionism, which was one of the base tenets of chaos magic, I guess, and unfortunately postmodernism has taken it to extreme now, which it's kind of lost its way. But that is what the advanced magic is all about. Engage where you are, and you keep performing different rituals, and you compare the results. You see where your weakness is. You find out systems where you can build up your power more, and you take it to the highest level you can, so you are ever increasing. Now, when you perform magic, I hope that even if you are very busy surrounded with family members, that you take the approach that family is more important. What I mean by that, I've seen a few cases where even couples, they start off married and then they start studying the occult, or one of them does, and things change. And then one partner spends most of their time studying occult separate from the other. The other partner doesn't know what the hell's going on. He thinks something, or she thinks something suspicious is happening. And the occultist gets angry because the occultist wants space, free time. And that's the wrong approach. That's how you actually put brakes. You halt progress, because now you've built up all anger issues and you're damaging your environment. You have to be very patient and understanding, and through that patience that you build up, actually, it's a valuable tool, because you develop a calm, a patience, stamina to then, no matter how long it takes later, you'll go back to it. But always give priority to your family. Don't neglect. At least that's my recommendation. Of course, do whatever you feel is best for you, but it's always best to have harmony. And even if you're the one that has to compromise first, and then develop a charismatic skill of being understanding, and then later through that understanding you can start becoming persuasive. So start studying things like the power of persuasion as well. Improve yourself. That goes hand in hand with advanced magic. physically as well. Improve yourself. So I think it was Dion Fortune that was one of the first to see a correlation with physical ability and good physical power and the ability to channel in stronger energies, at least in the beginning. And then once you built up those energies and as you aged, you're able to channel higher levels of these energies. So start incorporating more energetic practices to yourself as well, and start studying a lot of different things, not just so-called magical text. You'll be surprised at the amount of magic you can actually incorporate by studying other things as well. Study Kabbalistic systems, like I said to you. Study things like Solomonic magic if you want. There are lots of different versions, lots of different grimoires. Study things like that. Astrology, take that to the highest level you can. Take your meditations to higher levels. Work on creating your own spells and invocations as well. Okay? Do the study of body language too. That's always very important in my opinion. So there's lots of things you can do, and then you can incorporate all these things back into your magic. The thing is, at higher levels, you're going to personalize things. You're really going to personalize things and make things work because you have that understanding, you have that base. If you don't have that yet, then you're not ready for advanced. You should go back and keep building your basics. If you don't know how to do the ritual of the hexagram, for example, or the watchtowers of the Rose Cross, that's something you should be studying, incorporating as well, at least in my opinion. All right, so I'm going to leave it there because it's become quite lengthy for today. But if you have any questions, then feel free related to this video, I hope. Don't ask me questions about physical ailments you have. I'm getting some. I sympathize with you. But some people have been telling me, for example, oh, I can hardly see. I'm almost blind. What's the best way for me to study magic? And it's like, oh, come on. You can arrive to your own best assumption because you know yourself. Obviously, it's audio. And then you have a physician. Ask your physician what technologies are available to aid you. Is it massive magnifying glasses? Is it some kind of, like, what do you call it, Siri or Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is text-to-speech. The computer speaks to you. Come on, think about it. Another one was telling me they can't concentrate. They have some kind of illness where the mind can't visualize. What can they do? I have no answer because I'm not experienced in that, okay? So think before you pose questions that are better suited to a physician's, but feel free to question or ask questions about this video, okay? All right then, please have a great week ahead. If you're still in the weekend, please enjoy the rest of the day or the days, and I'll see you again next week. If you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Happy to have you here. Have a great week ahead. All the best. Keep going forward, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.